Greetings, this is m squared, and we are going to use the quadratic formula to solve some quadratic equations. This is the quadratic formula. Notice it says x equals. Notice there's a fraction over that, under that whole expression. It's one of the mistakes I see people as they write it. They only put it maybe under this or under this, so make sure you know it's under that whole thing. You've got to memorize it. There's no way around it. You have to memorize this. You will be using this not only this year, but next year, whenever you take math again, even in college. This is something you've got to know, so memorize it. Some people music is powerful, and you can put it to a little tune. I know that some of our students sing it. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So rewind that and memorize that little tune, because you've got to memorize it. So once you've memorized it, then this is used to solve equations, to find the x-intercepts or the solutions or the roots or the zeros. Remember, those four words are interchangeable when we're talking about solving equations. So they might be asking you to find one of those other words, roots. Let me write those down. Roots, zeros, x-intercepts, or just to solve it. So all of those mean pretty much the same thing, and that's what this is used for. Because in a quadratic equation, you can't always factor it, or you can't always use the square roots, but this you can always use. This method of solving quadratic equations you can use on any quadratic equation. So just keep that in mind. This is a beauty. So what we're going to do is we're going to find our A and our B and our C. We must make sure that everything's on one side with a 0 on the other side before we find our A, B, and C. Remember, A is the coefficient of the x squared term, or the quadratic term. B is the coefficient in front of the x. And C is our constant term. And then we use our formula. So we say the opposite of B plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. I'm assuming that you've done this before. This isn't the first level. This is Algebra 2. So over 2a. So we might skip a few steps. This equals 4, so negative times a negative is positive there. And then that's 16. If I see two negatives on this last part, I just cancel them out. So we get 16 plus 4 times 21. That's 100. And isn't that beautiful? That's a nice square root right there. So this one would have been factorable if we had factored it. So what is the square root of 100? Well, the square root of 100 is 10. If you don't know that, use your calculator. And remember, you have two answers. You have a plus and a minus. So the first answer is going to be 4 plus 10 divided by 2, and the second answer is going to be 4 minus 10 divided by 2. Well, 14 divided by 2 is 7, and that's negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. So these are our solutions, 7 and negative 3. And you could always throw them back in for x and test them to make sure, if you wanted to make sure you were correct. You can always do that with equations when you're solving them. Okay, this next one we have to move the 3 over, so we're going to have 6x squared plus 7x minus 3 equals 0. So A is 6, B is 7, and C is negative 3. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. So two negatives inside here, right next, in this factory, this is all multiplication, so if there are factors that are two factors that are negative, we know that we can cancel them out and it becomes positive. And so let's see what that is. 4, you can't see my little calculator, can you? 4 times 6 times 3 is 72. So we have 49 plus 72. And I gave you some easy ones. Try to do some more challenging ones next time. So we have negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 121 over 12. So the square root of 121 is, hopefully you know, it's 11. So we're going to say negative 7 plus 11 over 12. And negative 7 minus 11 over 12. Well, negative 7 plus 11, 8, 9, 10, 11, that's 4/12 or 1/3. And we get negative 18 over 12. And if we reduce, 6 goes into there 3 times and 6 goes into there 2 times. So we're left with negative 3/2. So our x equals 1/3 or negative 3/2, two answers. solving using the quadratic formula. Good luck with that. M squared.